Hey guys, tonight we begin with the steamy, sweaty, and slightly shocking world of the Roman bathhouse, the social center of every city, the unofficial gossip hub, and the only place where a senator, a slave, and a gladiator could all get equally naked and equally diseased. It wasn't just a place to get clean, it was a place where politics, pleasure, and plague mingled freely beneath marble arches. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You've trudged through a Roman street that smells like a blend of fish sauce, smoke, and questionable cheese. It's hot, of course. It's always hot in the Mediterraneans, so everything's sticky, including your only tunic. You're tired, you're dirty, and you've nearly been trampled by a cart full of amphorae twice. You need a bath. So how do you find a bathhouse in a Roman city? There are no glowing neon signs, no TripAdvisor reviews, and certainly no Google Maps. What you do have are your ears. Just follow the sound. Somewhere past the baker's shop and the wine merchant yelling about his Falernian vintage is a symphony of splashing, echoing voices, and someone aggressively singing about Venus. And there it is, a massive stone building stretching half a city. Block with steam rising from hidden vents. Carved above the entrance are words you can't read because you're probably illiterate, but they promise clean bodies and social advancement. Welcome to the Thermae. The entrance fee is modest enough that even a poor citizen can afford it occasionally, though slaves get in free if their masters are feeling generous. You hand over your bronze coin to a bored attendant who's seen more naked Romans than a sculptor's fever dream. The heavy bronze doors swing open, and instantly warm, humid air hits your face like a damp embrace, carrying the rich perfume of olive oil, wet stone, heated water, and mystery sweat. You've made it. Inside, the changing room, or is chaos, organized chaos, but chaos nonetheless. Shelves line the walls, stuffed with tunics, togas, and the occasional forgotten sandal. There are no lockers, no security guards, and theft is so common there's a god specifically for finding lost clothing. Seriously, Mercurius Conductor was supposed to help you locate your stolen tunic, though his success rate was questionable. You strip down completely because Romans had no concept of bathing suits or modesty. Everyone is naked. Everyone, old men with bellies that speak of too much wine, young soldiers with scars that tell stories of Germanic battles, women in the afternoon sessions, laughing and gossiping while their children splash nearby. A one-eyed attendant offers to watch your clothes for a small fee. You pay because the alternative is walking home naked through Rome, which, while not illegal, would definitely affect your social standing. And this, friend, is just the entrance. You've only just undressed, and already you can smell the sulfur from the hot springs, the oil from countless massage sessions, and something that might be garum or might be human. Both are equally concerning. The Roman bathhouse operates on a simple principle. Heat purifies everything, including, apparently, your sense of hygiene and personal boundaries. You're about to embark on a journey through the Thermae, a carefully choreographed sequence of rooms designed to strip away not just dirt, but dignity. privacy, and possibly several layers of skin. The process isn't optional. It's ritual with rules, traditions, and social expectations that would make a modern spa look like amateur hour. First stop, the tepidarium, the warm room. Think of it as nature's way of preparing your body for what's about to happen. The air is heated to a gentle Mediterranean warmth around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which sounds pleasant until you realize it's maintained by a hypercost system, burning massive amounts of wood beneath your feet. The floor is literally hot enough to cook an egg, but Romans walk on it barefoot because sandals are for weaklings and barbarians. Here you sweat gently while making small talk with fellow bathers. You discuss politics, gladiatorial games, the price of bread, and who's sleeping with whose wife. Conversation flows as freely as the perspiration. It's like a sauna crossed with a town hall meeting, minus the clothing and basic sanitation. But the tepidarium isn't about relaxation. It's about preparation. Your pores are opening, your blood is warming, and your body is getting ready for temperatures that would make a modern health inspector weep. Romans believed strongly in gradual temperature transitions. Shocking your system could cause death or, worse, embarrassment. So you sit on marble benches that are somehow both hot and cold, depending on where you place your anatomy. You watch steam rise from your skin like offerings to the gods, which, in a way, they are, because Romans pray to Febris, the goddess of fever, before entering the really hot rooms. They're not taking chances. Slaves move through the crowds offering services, massage, oil application, back scrubbing, and the removal of body hair using bronze tweezers that look more like torture devices than grooming tools. Everyone accepts these services because refusing would suggest you're either too poor to afford them or too barbaric to understand civilized bathing. Both are social death sentences worse than actual death, because at least corpses don't have to explain themselves at dinner parties. The warm room hums with conversation, laughter, and the occasional argument about chariot racing that threatens to become physical. You're marinating in human soup, and somehow it feels normal. This is community bathing, Roman style, where privacy is a foreign concept and inhibition died with the Republic. After the gentle warmth of the tepidarium, you're herded like sheep toward the caldarium, the hot room, and this is where things get serious. Think sauna crossed with Dante's vision of hell, but with better architecture. The temperature hovers around 140 degrees Fahrenheit, maintained by furnaces that burn constantly beneath the floor. The air is so thick with steam you can barely see 3 feet ahead. Water drips from the vaulted ceiling like perspiration from the gods themselves. This isn't just hot, it's surface of Venus hot, it's forge of Vulcan hot. It's so hot that metal fixtures are covered with cloths so visitors don't accidentally brand themselves like wayward cattle. The caldarium serves multiple purposes: relaxation, purification, and apparently natural selection. Only the strongest survive extended stays in this marble furnace. The weak either flee quickly or faint dramatically onto the heated floors, where they're revived with cold water and public humiliation. Romans consider fainting in the caldarium a character, flaw roughly equivalent to crying during gladiatorial games or praising Celtic wine. You sit on stone benches that are heated from below by the hypercost system. Your body temperature rises. your heart pounds, and sweat pours from places you didn't know could sweat. It's like being slowly cooked from the inside while maintaining polite conversation about aqueduct maintenance. But here's where it gets weird. Romans don't just endure the heat, they embrace it. They believe sweating purges illness, evil spirits, and probably bad investment decisions. The more you sweat, the more virtuous you become. It's suffering transformed into social currency. You're not just getting clean, you're demonstrating moral character through applied heat therapy. Attendants move through the steamy chaos offering cold drinks, massages, and philosophical observations about the nature of suffering. They're like therapists crossed with bartenders, if therapists carried olive oil and bartenders quoted Stoic philosophy. The Caldarium also serves as Rome's unofficial boardroom. Business deals are negotiated while naked men drip sweat onto heated marble. Political alliances are formed between senators who can barely breathe. Marriage contracts are discussed by fathers who look like boiled lobsters. There's something about extreme heat that makes Romans unusually honest. Either that, or they're hallucinating from hypothermia. But nothing serious gets decided here. The real negotiating happens in cooler rooms where people can think clearly, and aren't distracted by the possibility of spontaneous combustion. You endure as long as possible, because leaving too quickly suggests weak character, while staying too long risks actual death. It's a delicate balance that Romans navigate with the same precision they use for building roads and conquering barbarians. When you finally stagger toward the exit, you're red as a sunset, dizzy as a drunk priest, and somehow spiritually cleansed. The Caldarium doesn't just heat your body, it transforms your soul. Or at least, that's what Romans tell themselves while scraping melted flesh from marble benches. Just when you think you might actually die from the Caldarium's embrace, salvation appears in the form of the Frigidarium, the cold room. This is where Romans demonstrate their mastery over nature and their complete disregard for human comfort. After baking like bread in the hot room, you plunge directly into pools of water so cold it makes alpine springs feel tropical. The shock is immediate, brutal, and apparently therapeutic, according to Roman medical theory, which is only slightly more accurate than reading entrails. The Frigidarium features pools of water kept deliberately frigidary 50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's cold enough to make polar bears reconsider their life choices, but Romans dive in like it's a heated lagoon. The theory is simple. Hot tub. Cold opens, then closes your pores, purging impurities and demonstrating your superiority over lesser mortals who fear temperature extremes. It's hydrotherapy crossed with endurance testing with a healthy dose of showing off. The transition from Caldarium to Frigidarium is supposed to happen quickly. Romans don't ease into cold water. They attack it like Germanic tribes attack Roman borders. You watch as your fellow bathers emerge from the hot room, red and steaming, then launch themselves into the frigid pools with expressions ranging from determined stoicism to barely suppressed panic. The sound is immediate and universal, a sharp intake of breath followed by creative Latin cursing that would make sailors blush. Children laugh, women shriek, men pretend they plan to make that exact noise. Everyone agrees it's invigorating while secretly questioning their life choices. The cold water doesn't just shock your system, it reorganizes your entire understanding of temperature, physics, and human stupidity. Your heart stops, then restarts. Your muscles contract so violently you temporarily achieve your childhood dream of flying. Unfortunately, it's more falling than flying, and the landing is always wet. Your skin changes colors like a Roman sunset, red to blue to purple to a shade that has no name in any language. But you survive because humans are remarkably adaptable creatures, even when they're actively trying to kill themselves through recreational bathing. Some Romans take multiple trips between hot and cold rooms because apparently one near-death experience isn't enough. They're like ancient adrenaline junkies, using temperature variation instead of extreme sports. It's dangerous, stupid, and somehow deeply satisfying in a way that makes you question both Roman intelligence and your own sanity. The Frigidarium proves that Romans weren't just tough, they were crazy tough. Ice water after furnace heat takes commitment to discomfort that borders on masochism. But the cold pools serve another purpose. They're social equalizers. In the Frigidarium, everyone looks equally ridiculous. Senators shiver like commoners. Gladiators squeal like children. Philosophers forget their philosophical training and focus entirely on basic survival. Extreme cold reduces everyone to their most basic human functions: breathing, cursing, and trying not to drown. It's democracy. Through hypothermia, community through shared suffering. After you've shocked your system into submission and demonstrated your commitment to Roman bathing culture, you stagger from the Frigidarium feeling simultaneously dead and more alive than ever. Your circulation is confused, your nervous system is protesting, and somehow you feel absolutely magnificent. This is the Roman way of getting clean, through systematic torture disguised as hygiene. Once you've survived the temperature gauntlet comes the real purpose of Roman bathing, getting clean, and this is where things get intimate and slightly horrifying by modern standards. Romans don't have soap. They have slaves and lots of oil, olive oil specifically, which serves as everything from cleanser to moisturizer to lubricant for activities we won't discuss in family-friendly content. You're covered in oil by attendants who know your body better than your doctor. Then, scraped clean with a strigil, a curved bronze tool that looks like a combination back scratcher and medieval torture device. The oiling process is methodical and unavoidable. You stand like a statue while slaves anoint every inch of your body with olive oil that's been warmed and scented with herbs. The oil clings to dirt, sweat, and probably several small wildlife species, making you look like a glistening bronze sculpture. Unfortunately, one that smells like a Mediterranean salad. The slaves work with professional efficiency, coating you from head to toe with the thoroughness of painters preparing a fresco. Then comes the scraping. The strigil isn't gentle. It's designed to remove not just oil and dirt, but apparently the top several layers of your epidermis. The process is vigorous, methodical, and public. Everyone watches, everyone else gets scraped. Like human carrots. You learn things about your fellow citizens that would make gossip columnists weep with joy. Who has scars from military service, who has birthmarks in unfortunate places, who really needs to adjust their diet based on the amount of oil required to achieve basic cleanliness. The scraping technique is an art form. Romans are particular about the angle, pressure, and rhythm of strigil application. There are debates heated ones about whether to scrape with or against the grain of body hair. Professional scrapers charge premium rates for their services. because apparently removing human grime requires specialized training. Who knew that getting clean could be so complicated? But oil and scraping serve another purpose. They're social bonding activities. Wealthy Romans employ personal slaves specifically for bathing duties. These servants know their masters' bodies better than spouses do. They understand pressure preferences, oil allergies, and exactly how much scraping can be endured without causing permanent damage. It's intimate in a way that makes modern spa treatments look impersonal. The oil residue is collected and sold as medicina because Romans believe that the grime scraped from athletes has healing properties. It's recycled human filth transformed into medical treatment. Only Romans could create a market for other people's dirt. It's entrepreneurship meets gross hygiene, creating profit from what should be waste products. The bathhouse economy includes multiple tiers of oil sellers, from premium virgin olive oil for wealthy bathers to recycled athlete scrapings for budget-conscious health enthusiasts. After the scraping, you're technically clean, though you look like you've been processed by a food preparation facility. Your skin glows with remaining oil residue. You smell like an herb garden that's been attacked by an overzealous chef. And somehow, despite the indignity of public scraping, you feel genuinely refreshed. The Roman bathing process works. It's just profoundly weird by any reasonable standard. But then again, Romans weren't particularly concerned with reasonable standards. They were concerned with getting clean, dominating barbarians, and creating an empire that would last 1,000 years. 2 out of 3 isn't bad. The bathhouse isn't just about getting clean. It's Rome's unofficial social media platform where gossip flows faster than water through aqueducts. Information travels from pool to pool, carried by naked citizens who treat bathing time as journalism. Opportunity. In the tepidarium, conversations bubble like the hot springs themselves. You overhear discussions about everything from Senate politics to gladiatorial betting odds, to which merchant is watering down his wine again. Business deals are negotiated between steam clouds. A grain merchant might agree to supply a baker while both are getting their backs scraped by slaves who pretend not to hear sensitive commercial information. Marriage arrangements are discussed by fathers who evaluate potential sons-in-law based on their caldarium endurance, because apparently surviving extreme heat indicates good husband material, though the correlation remains scientifically unproven. Political intelligence spreads through the bathhouse like rumors through a garrison. Who's rising in favor with the emperor? Who's about to be exiled to some unpronounceable province? Who was seen entering whose villa at inappropriate hours? All of this information circulates freely because naked people apparently lose their ability to keep secrets. It's like alcohol, but with more sweating and less wine. The bathhouse also serves as Rome's employment center. Slaves are bought and sold, though not literally on site. Rather, arrangements are made, connections established, references provided. A gladiator trainer might recruit new fighters, a shipping company might find warehouse workers, a senator might identify potential household staff. It's networking in its most natural state, completely natural because everyone is completely naked. Legal matters get resolved here too. Disputes are mediated by respected elders while everyone soaks in warm water. Contracts are witnessed by fellow bathers who can testify that negotiations occurred under oath, sworn to the gods of hot springs and clean living. its informal justice system where nudity guarantees honesty. Or at least, that's the theory. Reality suggests that naked people lie just as much as clothed people, but with more public accountability. Military recruitment happens between temperature transitions. Young men demonstrate their physical fitness by enduring the full bathhouse circuit, while veterans evaluate their potential. Surviving caldarium heat and frigidarium shock indicates the kind of toughness needed for Germanic campaigns, or at least for carrying heavy equipment across muddy battlefields. The bathhouse connects every level of Roman society. Poor citizens mingle with wealthy merchants. Freed slaves share pools with senators. Children learn social hierarchies by watching their elders negotiate business deals while nude. It's education through immersion, literally and figuratively. You learn who matters in Rome by observing who gets the best massage spots, who has personal attendants, and who can afford the premium oils. Information learned in the bathhouse affects everything, from stock prices to military appointments to marriage alliances. A casual conversation about grain supplies might influence food prices across the empire. A discussion about Germanic tribal movements might trigger military preparations. A rumor about the emperor's health might reshape succession planning, all because naked Romans can't resist sharing what they know while soaking in hot water. This is where empire business really happens. Not in the forum, not in the Senate House, but in steam-filled rooms where social barriers dissolve along with clothing. The bathhouse turns every citizen into a potential spy, diplomat, or political operative. It's the most democratic institution in Rome. Ironically, because everyone looks equally ridiculous when they're naked and sweating. But the bathhouse isn't just a place for business and politics. It's Rome's premier entertainment venue, where the line between relaxation and spectacle blurs like vision in the caldarium steam. Professional entertainers work the crowds, musicians with lyres that somehow stay in tune despite the humidity. Poets who recite epic verses about heroic bathing experiences, and dancers whose performances are probably more athletic than artistic, given the slippery conditions. Gambling is everywhere. Romans bet on anything from how long someone can endure the caldarium to which bather will faint first in the hot rooms. Dice games happen on marble benches, while participants drip sweat onto ivory game pieces. Wrestling matches break out spontaneously in the exercise yards attached to bathhouses, because apparently getting clean isn't entertaining enough on its own. Professional massage therapists work the rooms, offering services that range from therapeutic muscle treatment to activities we won't describe in detail because this is family-friendly content. Let's just say Roman massage therapy was comprehensive and leave it at that. These practitioners are skilled professionals who understand anatomy, pressure points, and exactly how much oil is required for various specialized techniques. Food vendors circulate through the bathhouse complex because apparently near-death experiences through temperature shock make people hungry. Light snacks are available: honey cakes, wine mixed with water, dried fruits, and nuts that provide energy. For surviving the thermal gauntlet, some thermi have full dining rooms where patrons can recover from their bathing ordeals while discussing the finer points of hydrotherapy. The bathhouse also hosts cultural events. Poetry readings happen in the warm rooms where acoustics enhance dramatic recitation. Philosophy discussions emerge naturally from shared suffering in the hot chambers. Religious ceremonies honor the gods of clean water and spiritual purification. Its community center meets entertainment complex, meets religious shrine, all operating simultaneously under one steamy roof. Athletic competitions are common, especially wrestling, which seems particularly dangerous given the combination of naked competitors, slippery surfaces, and heated floors, but Romans loved dangerous sports almost as much as they loved getting clean, so the combination is irresistible. Prizes are awarded for various achievements: longest caldarium endurance, most graceful frigidarium entry, best technique for strigal scraping. Children learn to swim in the cooler pools under supervision of slaves who somehow maintain authority while completely naked. Its swimming lessons crossed with social education, because young Romans must understand proper bathhouse etiquette before they can participate fully in adult society. Getting the thermal sequence wrong is social embarrassment that lasts for generations. Evening entertainment includes theatrical performances, though the acoustics of marble rooms filled with steam present unique challenges for actors, who must project their voices through humid air while maintaining dramatic dignity despite being naked. It's Shakespeare in the sauna. If Shakespeare had written about Roman bathing culture and wasn't afraid of public nudity, the bathhouse never sleeps. It just changes character. Like a Roman city square, it adapts to different crowds throughout the day, and each time period brings its own particular flavor of chaos, beauty, and social complexity. Dawn at the Thermae belongs to the athletes, soldiers and working men who need to get clean before their daily labor. These are serious bathers who treat the thermal sequence like military drill, efficient, purposeful, focused. They move through the rooms with practiced precision, understanding exactly how much heat and cold their bodies can handle before work begins. Morning conversations center on practical matters: weather conditions that might affect outdoor work, military exercises planned for the day, construction projects that need completion. Politics take a back seat to immediate concerns about earning money, feeding families, and surviving another day in the empire that demands constant productivity. Mid-morning brings the merchants, traders, and middle-class Romans who have more flexible schedules and money to spend on premium services. These bathers linger longer in each room because they can afford to. The pace slows, conversations become more leisurely, and business deals start forming around shared pools and heated benches. This is when the bathhouse begins resembling a modern spa crossed with a business conference. Deals are negotiated, partnerships formed, alliances created, all while participants are naked and sweating, which apparently helps with honesty, or at least makes lying more uncomfortable. Olive oil becomes social lubricant in both literal and metaphorical senses. Midday arrives with the elite, senators, wealthy landowners, imperial officials, and various hangers-on who define Roman high society. These aren't just wealthy Romans. They're powerful Romans who expect special treatment even while naked. The best massage therapists serve them. The finest oils anoint them. Private attendants cater to their every need. The bathhouse transforms into an unofficial extension of the Senate during these hours. Laws are discussed, policies debated, imperial decisions influenced, all in pools of hot water where social barriers theoretically don't exist, except they absolutely do exist. Wealth and power assert themselves, even when stripped of clothing and dignity. Early afternoon is women's time, when the thermi becomes an entirely different world. Female bathing sessions are segregated from male ones, though the facilities and procedures remain the same. The conversations, however, shift dramatically from military conquest and political maneuvering to family management, social relationships, and the complex dynamics of Roman household life. Women's bathing culture includes its own hierarchies, rituals, and entertainment. Senators' wives, empress consorts, wealthy merchants' daughters, and freed slaves all share the same pools, but definitely not the same social standing. The bathhouse provides one of the few public spaces where Roman women can gather, socialize, and conduct their own version of empire business. Late afternoon brings families with children, and the bathhouse becomes chaotic in entirely new ways. Young Romans must learn proper bathing etiquette, temperature tolerance, and social interaction skills while naked and confused. Parents attempt to maintain authority while demonstrating thermal endurance techniques. Children splash, scream, and generally ignore all attempts at civilized behavior. Teaching children proper bathhouse protocol is serious business because improper thermal sequence can cause illness, injury, or social embarrassment that affects the entire family. Young Romans who faint in the caldarium or refuse to enter the frigidarium bring shame to their households that lasts for generations. Evening attracts a mixed crowd, including many who use the bathhouse for activities beyond simple cleansing. The later hours bring entertainers, prostitutes, gamblers, and various characters who make their living from Roman nightlife. The respectable Romans have gone home, leaving the thermi to those who work after dark. Nighttime bathing has its own atmosphere, more relaxed, less formal, with conversations that range from philosophical to profane. Entertainment becomes more adult-oriented, though we won't elaborate on specifics because family-friendly content has its limits. Let's just say the bathhouse after dark serves needs beyond basic hygiene. Each time period creates its own micro-society within the larger bathhouse community. The thermal rooms remain the same, but the social dynamics shift like Roman politics, complex, layered, and occasionally dangerous, depending on who's sharing your pool and what they want to discuss while you're trying to survive systematic temperature torture. The bathhouse operates around the clock because Rome never sleeps, and Romans apparently never stop needing to get clean, or at least never stop needing the social connections that come with public bathing. For all its social benefits and community building, the Roman bathhouse harbors secrets darker than the deepest caldarium shadows. The same pools that bring Romans together also spread disease with efficiency that would impress modern epidemiologists. Water recycling wasn't exactly sophisticated. In ancient times, what goes into the pool stays in the pool, along with whatever bacteria, viruses, and parasitic creatures decide to make it home. The warm water, perfect for human comfort, is also perfect for growing things. Microscopic things that would make modern health inspectors lock the doors and burn the building. Water temperatures in the tepidarium and caldarium create ideal breeding conditions for organisms that feast on human flesh, though Romans don't understand germ theory, so they blame illness on angry gods or improper sacrifice rather than contaminated water. Skin infections are common, ranging from minor rashes to horrifying conditions that Roman medicine can't identify, let alone treat. Open wounds plus communal bathing equals sepsis, though Romans call it divine displeasure and treat it with prayers, wine, and optimistic bloodletting. Eye infections spread rapidly through the steam rooms. Respiratory diseases circulate like gossip, moving from bather to bather with each shared breath. The strigil scraping process, while effective for removing dirt, also creates tiny cuts in the skin that serve as entry points for infections. These bronze tools are shared between bathers after minimal cleaning, meaning yesterday's diseases become today's medical emergencies. The olive oil used for cleansing isn't exactly sterile lids stored in amphora that have seen better centuries and filtered through cloth that doubles as bandage material. Sexual diseases spread through the bathhouse with the same efficiency as political rumors. The combination of nudity, relaxed moral standards, and communal water creates perfect conditions for transmitting everything from minor infections to conditions that Roman medicine can't pronounce, let alone cure. Wealthy Romans employ personal physicians who recommend avoiding public bathing during certain seasons, though they don't understand why summer thermi visits correlate with autumn illness outbreaks. Parasites thrive in the warm water environment. Romans regularly host worms, flukes, and various creatures that would make modern parasitologists weep with professional excitement. These organisms spread through contaminated water, direct contact, and shared facilities. The Roman treatment involves herbs, prayers, and purging, which sometimes works but usually just makes the patient more miserable while still infected. Drowning happens more often than Roman records admit. The combination of extreme heat, cold, shock, and slippery surfaces creates dangerous conditions, especially for children, elderly bathers, and anyone who's had too much wine before attempting the thermal sequence. The frigidarium's shock can cause heart failure, though Romans attribute sudden deaths to divine judgment rather than thermal stress. Violence occasionally erupts in the bathhouse despite the civilizing influence of nudity and shared vulnerability. Arguments about politics, gambling debts, or inappropriate behavior sometimes escalate into physical confrontations. Fighting while naked on slippery marble surfaces rarely ends well for anyone involved. Romans solved disputes through various means, including but not limited to drowning, stabbing, and the occasional creative use of hot oil. Food poisoning affects bathhouse visitors who eat from vendors whose hygiene standards make the communal pools look sterile. The combination of heat, spoiled food, and stress from temperature extremes creates perfect conditions for digestive disasters that can last for weeks. Roman medicine treats such conditions with wine, herbs, and philosophical acceptance of suffering. The hypocaust heating system occasionally malfunctions, creating furnace-like conditions that can literally cook bathers who don't escape quickly enough. Carbon monoxide poisoning from the underground fires affects air quality, though Romans blame headaches and nausea on excessive heat rather than toxic gas exposure. Slaves who maintain the heating systems face even greater dangers, working in underground chambers filled with smoke and deadly gases. Despite these health risks, Romans continue flocking to the bathhouse because the social benefits outweigh the medical dangers, or at least they think they do. Roman medicine isn't advanced enough to connect cause and effect between communal bathing and disease outbreaks. They understand that illness spreads, but attribute it to divine displeasure rather than contaminated water, dirty tools, and shared bodily fluids. The bathhouse proves that Romans are willing to risk death for the sake of getting clean, socializing and demonstrating their superiority over barbarians, who apparently don't understand the civilizing power of systematic temperature torture. Its courage crossed with stupidity, seasoned with olive oil and served at temperatures that would violate modern safety regulations. But Romans aren't deterred by mere mortality. They're building an empire, and empire builders don't let minor concerns like disease, death, and public nudity interfere with their commitment to civilization advancement, even if that advancement occasionally involves accidentally killing people through recreational bathing. The Roman bathhouse economy creates employment opportunities that range from respectable to questionable, with several categories that defy modern job descriptions. The Thermi employs everyone from skilled architects who design the hypercost systems to slaves who scrape human grime for a living. It's a diverse workplace where nudity is standard uniform and heat tolerance is a job requirement. Bathhouse managers, called balneator, oversee entire operations, managing everything from water temperature to crowd control to preventing murders. In the massage rooms, these are typically freedmen who understand both business and Roman social dynamics. They must maintain order among naked citizens who've lost their inhibitions along with their clothing while ensuring the fires burn correctly, and the pools don't overflow with bodies or bodily fluids. Furnace operators work underground in conditions that make modern factory workers look pampered. These slaves feed fires that maintain bathhouse temperatures, working in chambers filled with smoke, heat, and toxic gases. Their life expectancy is measured in months rather than years, though Romans consider this an acceptable cost for maintaining proper bathing temperatures. Replacement workers are always available because the Roman economy produces slaves faster than furnaces can consume them. Professional oil appliers, called ellipta, are skilled workers who understand anatomy, pressure points, and exactly how much olive oil each body type requires. They work with the efficiency of assembly line workers, anointing dozens of Romans daily while maintaining conversation about everything from weather to warfare. These positions require strength, endurance, and immunity to human odors that would overwhelm civilian populations. Strigil operators, called tractators, specialize in scraping techniques that remove dirt without removing too much skin. It's skilled labor that requires understanding of pressure, angles, and human psychology because customers need to feel clean without feeling flayed alive. These workers develop powerful forearms from constant scraping motion and intimate knowledge of Roman anatomy that would make physicians jealous. Water carriers, called aquarii, maintain pool levels and quality standards, such as they are in ancient Rome. They haul fresh water from aqueducts, remove contaminated water from pools, and occasionally fish out bathers who've drowned during thermal shock. It's physically demanding work that requires strength, stamina, and strong stomach for dealing with whatever Romans leave behind in the pools. Attendants, called capsari, watch clothing and valuables while bathers endure the thermal sequence. These workers must have excellent memory because Romans don't use tickets or claim checks. They rely on human recognition systems to reunite with their possessions, The job requires honesty, alertness, and diplomatic skills for handling disputes when tunics go missing or sandals mysteriously change ownership. Massage therapists, called masseurs, provide services that range from therapeutic muscle treatment to activities we won't describe in family-friendly content. These positions require strength, flexibility, and discretion, because Roman massage therapy involves techniques that might raise eyebrows in more conservative societies. Successful practitioners develop loyal clientele and earn enough money to eventually purchase their own freedom. Food vendors work the thermi, selling snacks and drinks to bathers who've worked up appetites through systematic temperature torture. These entrepreneurs must navigate crowds of naked, sweaty Romans while maintaining food quality in humid conditions that spoil everything from bread to wine. Their products provide energy for surviving the bathhouse experience. Though quality control remains questionable, entertainment staff, including musicians, dancers, and storytellers, work in conditions that would challenge modern performers. They must maintain artistic dignity while surrounded by naked audience members who've lost normal social inhibitions through heat exposure. The acoustics of steam-filled marble rooms create unique challenges for artists trying to project over conversations echoing off whetstone surfaces. Security personnel, called larari, maintain order among bathers who've temporarily abandoned civilization along with their clothing. These workers must resolve disputes between naked citizens while maintaining their own authority and dignity. It's law enforcement under conditions that would challenge modern police training programs. The bathhouse economy proves that. Romans can create employment opportunities from any human activity, no matter how basic or potentially lethal. Getting clean becomes industry that supports hundreds of workers, whose job descriptions would confuse modern human resources departments. But then again, Romans aren't particularly concerned with job safety, worker protection, or reasonable working conditions. They're focused on building empire that requires clean citizens, and they're willing to employ whatever workforce necessary to achieve that goal. Behind the marble facades and bronze fixtures lies the true marvel of Roman engineering, the hypocaust system that turns bathhouses into architectural achievements capable of maintaining precise temperatures across multiple rooms, while slowly poisoning workers with carbon monoxide. These heating systems represent Roman engineering at its most sophisticated and most dangerous. The hypocaust begins with furnaces called prefurnia that burn constantly beneath the bathhouse floors. Slaves feed these fires with wood, charcoal, and occasionally furniture when fuel runs short. The furnaces heat air that flows through hollow spaces beneath the floors, called suspensura, creating radiant heating that warms rooms from below. It's central heating that predates modern systems by nearly 2,000 years, though the Roman version involves significantly more slave labor and toxic gas exposure. Hot air travels through vertical hollow tiles, called tubuli, built into the walls, carrying heat throughout the building while creating draft systems that should theoretically remove smoke and gases. In practice, the systems often malfunction, creating rooms filled with carbon monoxide that causes headaches, nausea, and occasional death among bathers who blame their symptoms on excessive heat rather than gas poisoning. Water heating involves separate systems where furnaces heat bronze, cauldrons that supply hot water to pools through lead pipes, The Romans understand that lead is toxic, but they use it anyway because it's cheap, durable, and easy to work with. The long-term health effects of lead poisoning take decades to manifest, and Romans attribute chronic illness to divine displeasure rather than contaminated water systems. Temperature control requires constant adjustment by slaves who monitor fires, adjust airflow, and maintain water levels without any modern measuring instruments. They judge temperature by experience, intuition, and the number of bathers who faint in each room. It's climate controlled by trial and error, with human comfort sacrificed for operational efficiency. The engineering allows for remarkable precision, with some bathhouses maintaining different temperatures in adjacent rooms through careful fire management and airflow manipulation. Romans can create thermal gradients that guide bathers through the proper sequence while ensuring each room serves its designated purpose. It's sophisticated technology disguised as simple heating. Maintenance involves dangerous work performed by slaves who clean flues, repair heating systems, and remove accumulated soot from underground chambers. These workers face constant exposure to toxic gases, extreme heat, and structural hazards that would violate every modern safety regulation. Their replacements are readily available through Rome's efficient slave markets. Water supply systems connect bathhouses to aqueducts through engineering marvels that deliver millions of gallons daily while maintaining pressure and flow rates sufficient for filling pools and operating fountains. The Romans move more water through their cities than many modern municipalities, managing distribution through gravity-fed systems that require constant maintenance and occasional human sacrifice. When things go wrong, drainage systems remove used water through sewers that connect to larger municipal waste management networks. The same engineering that brings fresh water in takes contaminated water out, though the Romans don't always maintain clear separation between supply and waste systems, leading to contamination that spreads disease while demonstrating Roman efficiency in creating public health disasters. The hypocost proves that Romans can engineer solutions to any problem, including how to heat large buildings without electricity, fossil fuels, or concern for worker safety. They create technology that works beautifully for its intended purpose, while creating unintended consequences that won't be understood for centuries. It's innovation driven by practical needs and unlimited access to expendable labor. Roman engineering transforms simple bathing into complex technological achievement that requires constant fuel supplies, skilled maintenance, and steady stream of replacement workers. The bathhouse becomes symbol of Roman civilization, advancement, sophisticated, comfortable, and completely dependent on systematic exploitation of human resources. But then again, that describes most Roman achievements. Empire building requires sacrifice, even if the sacrifice is usually made by people who don't have much choice in the matter. The decline of Roman bathhouse culture reflects the broader collapse of Roman civilization itself, as political instability, economic crisis, and barbarian invasions gradually transformed the Thermae from symbols of Roman achievement into abandoned ruins that archaeologists would spend centuries trying to understand. During the late imperial period, maintaining the elaborate bathhouse systems becomes increasingly difficult as tax revenues decline. Fuel becomes scarce, and the slave labor force that operates the heating systems becomes unreliable. Military Priorities demand resources previously used for civilian comfort, while barbarian attacks disrupt the supply chains that deliver everything from olive oil to replacement workers. Christian influence gradually changes Roman attitudes toward public nudity, communal bathing, and the moral implications of thermi culture. Early Christian leaders condemned the bathhouses as sites of moral corruption where nudity leads to sin and social mixing threatens traditional family structures. They prefer private bathing that maintains proper separation between sexes and reduces opportunities for inappropriate behavior. Economic decline affects bathhouse operations as fewer Romans can afford entrance fees and the municipal governments that sponsor public bathing face budget constraints. The elaborate entertainment programs disappear first, followed by premium services like professional massage therapy and specialized oil applications. Eventually, many bathhouses operate on reduced schedules with minimal staff and deteriorating facilities. Barbarian invasions bring populations that don't understand or appreciate Roman bathing culture. Germanic tribes prefer simple washing methods that don't require elaborate heating systems, complex social protocols, or systematic temperature torture. They view Roman bathing practices as effeminate, impractical, and unnecessarily complicated, preferring to focus resources on military activities rather than recreational hygiene. The hypercost systems require constant maintenance that becomes impossible as skilled workers flee disrupted regions and replacement materials become unavailable. Furnaces fail, water systems break down, and the elaborate temperature control that defined Roman bathing becomes impossible to maintain. Many bathhouses simply closed their doors forever, leaving behind empty shells that would puzzle future generations. Some thermi attempt to survive by simplifying operations, reducing the number of heated rooms, eliminating expensive services, and charging higher fees to cover increased costs. But these measures only accelerate decline as fewer Romans can afford bathhouse. Visits and the social functions that made the thermi essential to Roman life gradually disappear. By the 6th century, most Roman bathhouses have either collapsed, been converted to other uses, or stand abandoned as monuments to a civilization that prioritized getting clean above almost everything else, including apparently common sense and worker safety. A few survive in Constantinople and other eastern cities where Byzantine culture maintains some Roman traditions, but even these eventually succumb to changing times and different priorities. The Islamic conquests bring populations with different bathing traditions that emphasize private cleansing and religious purification over social gathering and community entertainment. Islamic bathhouses, called hammams, serve similar functions but operate under different social rules that maintain gender separation and focus on spiritual cleansing rather than political networking. Medieval European populations largely abandon communal bathing, associating it with Roman decadence, disease transmission, and moral corruption. The elaborate bathhouse systems fall into ruin, while Europeans develop entirely different approaches to personal hygiene that prioritize modesty over efficiency and spiritual purity over social interaction. Archaeological evidence suggests that some bathhouse ruins continue operating on reduced scales for centuries after the Roman collapse, serving local populations who remember the basic techniques but lack resources to maintain proper hypocost systems. These simplified operations use primitive heating methods that provide warm water without the elaborate temperature sequences that defined classical Roman bathing. The Renaissance brings renewed interest in Roman bathing culture as humanist scholars rediscover classical texts describing thermae operations, but attempts to recreate Roman bathhouses face practical problems including cost, environmental concerns, and social attitudes that view public nudity as inappropriate rather than civiliz. Modern spa culture borrows elements from Roman bathing traditions, including temperature therapy, massaged treatments, and social aspects, but operates under entirely different principles that emphasize privacy, individual comfort, and professional service rather than community building, political networking, and systematic temperature torture. The legacy of Roman bathhouses survives in archaeological sites, tourist attractions, and historical imagination, where they represent both the achievements and excesses of Roman civilization. The thermae demonstrates Roman engineering capabilities, social complexity, and complete disregard for safety regulations that would make modern authorities close them immediately. Today, we visit bathhouse ruins as museums, marveling at the sophistication of heating systems while carefully avoiding any mention of the working conditions that made them possible. The same marble chambers that once hosted naked Roman citizens now host clothed tourists, who photograph the remains while trying not to think too hard about what actually happened in these spaces. The decline and fall of Roman bathhouse culture proves that even the most sophisticated civilizations eventually face practical limits to their ambitions, whether those limits involve fuel costs, labor shortages, or simple common sense. The thermae remind us that progress sometimes involves abandoning practices that seemed essential to previous generations. But maybe that's the most Roman lesson of all: adaptation through abandonment. When the cost of maintaining civilization becomes too high, Romans simply move on two different approaches that require fewer resources, less specialized labor, and reduced risk of accidental death through recreational activities. The bathhouse dies, but Roman pragmatism survives. Yet, despite their ultimate failure, the Roman thermae achieved something remarkable. They turned getting clean into art form, social institution, and engineering marvel that lasted for centuries. The fact that they eventually collapsed doesn't diminish their achievement. It just proves that nothing lasts forever, especially when it depends on unlimited supplies of expendable labor and systematic disregard for worker safety. The bathhouse legacy lives on, not in functional buildings, but in human memory, archaeological evidence, and the persistent belief that civilization should provide its citizens with opportunities to get clean, socialize, and demonstrate their superiority over barbarians who apparently don't understand the importance of proper hygiene. And perhaps most importantly, the Roman bathhouse reminds us that luxury is always temporary, comfort always costs something, and the price is usually paid by people who don't get to enjoy the benefits. But for a few centuries at least, Romans created spaces where citizens could escape their daily lives, relax in heated water, and pretend that empire building wasn't slowly killing them through exposure to toxic gases. The bathhouse may be gone, but the dream survives. The dream of civilization sophisticated enough to heat entire buildings, complex enough to support elaborate social rituals, and wealthy enough to waste enormous resources on activities that serve no practical purpose. Beyond making people feel temporarily better about their lives, that's not a small achievement, even if it eventually killed more people than it helped. Standing in the ruins of a Roman bathhouse today, you can almost hear the echoes, water flowing over marble, voices discussing empire business, steam rising from heated pools, and the distant sound of furnaces that powered a civilization's dream of perfection through systematic temperature manipulation. The broken hypercost chambers still whisper stories of engineering ambition that pushed technology beyond reasonable limits. The empty pools reflect sky where they once reflected Roman faces. The silent changing rooms remember conversations that shaped empires through gossip shared between naked citizens who trusted each other because they had nothing left to hide. These ruins represent more than failed architecture. They represent the Roman approach to everything, ambitious, sophisticated, complex, and ultimately unsustainable. The same civilization that built roads spanning continents also built bathhouses that required more fuel than small cities, that employed more workers than military campaigns, and that demonstrated Roman values through activities that would horrify modern safety inspectors. The Thermae embody Roman civilization at its peak, moment when empire was wealthy enough to waste enormous resources on citizen comfort, sophisticated enough to engineer solutions to any technical problem, and confident enough to believe that getting clean was worth risking life through systematic temperature torture. But the ruins also reveal the hidden costs of Roman achievement. The underground chambers where slaves maintained heating systems tell stories of human sacrifice disguised as employment opportunity. The lead pipes demonstrate Roman willingness to use toxic materials when alternatives cost more. The drainage systems reveal casual attitudes toward public health that created disease transmission opportunities while solving waste management problems. Archaeological evidence suggests that bathhouse operations required constant streams of replacement workers because the working conditions were literally lethal. Carbon monoxide poisoning from hypocost systems, extreme heat exposure from furnace maintenance, and toxic gas inhalation from cleaning operations created mortality rates that made military service look safe by comparison. Yet Romans continued building and operating bathhouses for centuries because the social benefits outweighed the human costs. At least for the people making decisions about resource allocation, the Thermae provided essential services for Roman civilization, including community building, political networking, business development, and demonstration of cultural superiority over barbarian populations, who apparently didn't understand the civilizing power of public nudity. The bathhouse ruins force us to confront uncomfortable truths about civilization achievement. Progress often requires sacrifice, and the sacrifice is usually made by people who don't benefit from the progress. Roman engineering marvels were built with slave labor. Roman comfort was purchased with human lives. Roman civilization was achieved through systematic exploitation of expendable populations. But acknowledging these costs doesn't diminish Roman achievements. It just places them in proper context. The Thermae represent human capability pushed to extraordinary limits, engineering solutions that seem impossible even by modern standards. and social organization that created community through shared experiences, including shared suffering. The Romans understood something we've forgotten, that civilization requires commitment to experiences that push human limits. Even if those experiences involve risk, discomfort, and occasional death, the Thermi taught Romans to endure temperature extremes that would challenge modern humans, to accept social situations that would horrify contemporary individualists, and to demonstrate courage through activities that had no practical purpose, beyond proving human superiority over natural limitations. Modern spa culture attempts to recreate Roman bathhouse experiences but operates under entirely different principles that prioritize safety, individual comfort, and professional service rather than community building, character development, and systematic endurance testing. Contemporary thermal therapy focuses on relaxation rather than challenge, healing rather than proving worthiness. The Roman approach was different, and arguably more honest about the costs of civilization. The Thermi didn't pretend to be safe, comfortable, or reasonable. They were explicitly challenging, dangerous, and demanding. But they created something that modern spa culture can't replicate: genuine community forged through shared ordeal, social bonds created through mutual vulnerability, and political networks built on trust earned through surviving systematic temperature torture together. The bathhouse ruins remind us that luxury always has hidden costs, comfort always requires sacrifice, and civilization always involves compromise between competing values. The Romans chose to prioritize citizen services over worker safety, social benefits over individual comfort, community building over personal privacy. Whether those choices were correct is debatable, but they were at least honest. Roman civilization acknowledged its costs and decided they were acceptable in pursuit of goals that seemed worth the sacrifice. Empire building requires difficult decisions, and Romans made them consistently over centuries while building infrastructure that served citizen needs even when it destroyed worker lives. The Thermi represent Roman civilization at its most characteristic: ambitious engineering serving social purposes while creating human costs that were accepted as necessary for achieving larger goals. Its empire building reduced to its essential elements: progress through exploitation, achievement through sacrifice, civilization through systematic disregard for individual welfare in service of collective benefit. Standing among bathhouse ruins, you're witnessing more than archaeological remains. You're seeing the physical evidence of choices that shaped human history for centuries. The broken marble represents Roman ambition. The empty pools reflect Roman achievement, and the silent chambers echo Roman costs. These ruins teach us that civilization is always a gamble, that progress is never free, and that the price is usually paid by people whose names we'll never know but whose sacrifice made everything else possible. The Roman bathhouse died, but the questions it raises about civilization, costs, and human value remain as relevant today as they were 2,000 years ago. Perhaps that's the most lasting legacy of the Thermi, not their engineering achievements or social innovations, but their honest demonstration of what civilization actually costs and who actually pays the price. The bathhouse is gone, but the memory endures, reminding us that every hot shower, every heated building, every comfortable moment in modern life connects us to Romans who decided that citizen comfort was worth any cost, including human lives. That's either inspiring or terrifying, depending on your perspective, and perhaps both simultaneously, like most Roman achievements. But tonight, as you slip into your comfortable bed in your heated home, using water that flows safely through pipes that won't poison you, remember the Romans who created the first version of these comforts through systematic sacrifice of people, who didn't have choices about participating in empire building. The Bathhouse may be ruins, but the questions it raises about civilization, comfort, and cost remain as fresh as heated marble and as challenging as the frigidarium's shock, sleep, well, and dream of empire. But remember when you wake that every civilization in history has built comfort on someone else's suffering. Romans were at least honest about it. History will judge whether honesty about exploitation is better than denial. But someday history will judge whether we've learned anything from Roman ruins or whether we're still building our own bath, just with better safety regulations and more discreet working conditions. The thermi are gone, but the spirit endures. Human ambition pushing limits, human engineering solving problems, human civilization prioritizing some lives over others while calling it progress, and perhaps most Roman of all, the absolute certainty that getting clean is worth almost any cost, including occasionally the cost of being human.